So welcome. So today we're going to start to do a little presentation explaining how do we use Alfresco, more the functional side of it. Just we use it in a few unusual ways. So we're just going to give a little presentation on how we use it here at Mintel, and then we'll proceed to the technical presentation.
Okay, so hi everyone. As Anna said, I'm going to introduce very briefly what Mintel does and what we use Alfresco for. So, very quick introduction on Mintel's business. This is wrong on so many levels. Okay, so what does Mintel do? Mintel business can be roughly divided into main areas very quickly. The first one being databases. Since we have a lot of quality data, large quantity of data, we allow our users to use self-service tools in order for them to query and find information about market trends or customer sentiment. And the second part, which is more related to what we do with Alfresco, is the insight. So the content that analysts produce using their own knowledge on specific field and the data that we mentioned before. And they produce this content in order to sell to their clients, to give them new opportunity on the market they want to be in. And so, having all this content in the business, the company decided that they would need to have content management system in order to hold all the documents and map out their business processes on that. The first thing that we used Alfresco for was the reports. And reports is a very big study that is backed by a lot of information and research, and is a real textbook example of what you can do with Alfresco, since it's a very big process that takes up to 3 to 4 months and can include up to 200 manual steps. It includes a lot of different responsibilities that can be easily mapped to user groups, and the process itself can be made a lot more complicated during its execution, since we can add different optional sub-processes. And I think we did to the report, apart from mapping all the workflows and the groups, was giving the user a simple way of having a grasp of the current execution of the workflow, the status. So with a simple dashlet, we had all the information about all the workflows. And if you open the drop-down, as here, you get a vision on the current task of the workflow and who's assigned it to, and so what we need to do and what need to be done, who need to do that. And just to have a little insight on the kind of workflow that we had, I added a little image of the most complicated workflow that we have, the diagram. So this is one of the probably the most complicated workflow that we have in the report. After doing that, we added more things in the process. So having all these analysts that wrote content in different categories, the company realized that it would be very useful to allow them to share information without the need to know each other. So we created our Analyst Collaboration platform that is based on the Alfresco discussion component with some customization. The first thing being the fact that the content is subdivided in categories, so you can just search for something you're interested in, and then you will find all the topics about, and you can find out who to contact, and it's possible to tag people in various topics. And this is just a very quick look of what it looks like. You can see all the categories are in the central grid. And on top, you would have your categories and the topics you're tagged into, and on the left, the usual filters to search through the content. Then it was the Mintel editor. So until now, we had all the content was produced as Microsoft Office's Word document. And this was, after it was produced, it was transformed and then published on our webpage. So we decided that it was more useful to allow the users to produce the content in a way that was very similar on what it appeared to the final web page for the client. And so we started on a library that's called Content Builder.js, and on top of that we built our own editor to the content. And instead of describing it, I will show you how it's done. So this presentation is actually made using our pipeline from Alfresco and the client's website. So this is how it appears on the web page, and I just used the presentation tool to make the actual presentation. And the content editor is this, so you can see that all the content is laid out as it appears on the web page. So the analyst, to write what they need to, they can just drag the blocks that they need and drag and drop it into the presentation and write. And on a more Fresco side, all the blocks are mapped to a different node, and this allows us to save independently on Alfresco and reuse it on different pieces to reuse what we already have. A couple of interesting things that we had in the content editor is on this other piece that it's more a real-life example. We have comments. So since there are a lot of interaction between people who write and people who check stuff, you're allowed to insert comments on nearly everything just by selecting what you want to comment on and hit the comment. And so you can leave all the comments, they're all grouped on the column on the right. And also, the piece itself is tightly coupled to the Alfresco workflow, since it has this progress bar on top that shows the different phases of the workflow and the current phase that it's currently in. And so our content is subdivided in content, what we call content hubs, and so they share the similar context or similar purposes. This is an example of a content hub that we named after our team to share all our presentations. And this division allows us to have different configurations based on the site properties. And yes, this basically allows us to do whatever we want with the configuration. And the last thing is, since we have the possibility on the web page to save different blocks, if we like to use them after we already published the piece, as I said before, you just add what you need to your presentations. And then you're able to just create something using your presentation that you already have. It will create V8. Probably gonna take a while. So this is random stuff that I added, but it's possible. And yeah, this is everything. So this is what we use Alfresco for. If you have any questions. No? Okay.
Yeah, I guess what's the format of your document? An XML or
Sorry?
JSON? The format you're saving the document in?
This is all saved in the HTML on the Alfresco, and then it's shared on an API, so with JSON and HTML to the web page.
What are you using for the comments? I mean, is that a custom framework, or did you build all the APIs and all that stuff?
Oh, I think if one.
Yeah, it's all built. We're not using anything, any library. We built it, all of it.
It's an interesting technology.
Any other questions?
No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.